But even as India is trying to get its phase 3 vaccine program on track, just a few days left, it starts on the 1st of May. The center and the states are sparring with each other. Why? Because remember, the SOPs for phase 3 had been put out earlier by the center, where it said that 50% of the vaccines being manufactured by both Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute are going to go to the center, which in turn is going to give it free of cost to the states to carry on with as before. But the remaining 50% is now going to be in the open market, and which means that states and corporates can step in and ensure that those who were not identified as the most vulnerable group by the center so far, those who are in the 18 to 45 year bracket, can also be vaccinated, which means we will get closer and faster to the vaccine for all target. But things got really messy when both the vaccine manufacturers put out the prices for what their vaccine would cost in the open market, which means how much the states and private hospitals would have to pay for it. As opposed to a 150 rupee per dose, which they had negotiated earlier with the center, now both Covishield and Covaxin are going to be much more expensive when it comes to the states wanting to buy it, which is why the states are now alleging that the transfer of the burden of the next phase of vaccination has been put entirely on them. It's a shirking of responsibility of the center, and more importantly, that corporates, both of these companies, are being allowed to make profits off the pain of the people in the middle of a pandemic.
मेरी उम्मीद है कि इसको एक ही प्राइस होना चाहिए, अलग अलग प्राइस नहीं होने चाहिए। उनमें से एक निर्माता का मैं इंटरव्यू देख रहा था जो कह रहा था कि 150 रुपये में जब वो केंद्र सरकार को दे रहे हैं तो उसमें भी उनको फ़ायदा हो रहा है। तो अगर 150 रुपये में भी उनको फ़ायदा है, उसमें नुकसान नहीं है, तो 400 रुपये में और 600 रुपये में तो बहुत ज़्यादा फ़ायदा है। ये समय ऐसा है जो कि इंसानियत को मदद करने का समय है। ये समय ऐसा है जो प्रॉफिट कमाने का समय नहीं है।
अविश्वास के लिए कोई स्थान नहीं है। यदि हम आपस में लड़ें, यदि हम भ्रम फैलाएं, यदि राजनीति के चंगुल में फंस जाएं और विश्वास को हरा बैठें, तो हम इस जंग को कैसे जीतेंगे। इसलिए वैक्सीन ड्राइव को लेकर, भारत की वैक्सीन पॉलिसी को लेकर जिस प्रकार से कुछ लोग मतांतर करने की चेष्टा कर रहे हैं, हमें लगता है कि इसमें तथ्यों के साथ जनता के बीच में विषय को रखने की आवश्यकता है।
The profit of Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech for these 202 crore doses will be a whopping 1,11,100 crores. Simple question is this brazen profiteering permitted in these times of pandemic from our citizens who are crying for help, who are crying for oxygen, who do not have essential supply of medicines, who do not have beds, who do not have basic COVID protocol testing, tracing availability?
All of this is happening even as the center today nudged the vaccine manufacturers to lower their prices and make it more reasonable. And several states have not only announced a free vaccination for all, but have also placed their orders either with Bharat Biotech or with Serum Institute. But in the middle of all this, will the charge about the center transferring its responsibility, shrugging off its responsibility stick? And more importantly, is this an effort to again mire the next phase of vaccination for India in politics again?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, we have Nupur Sharma, National Spokesperson of the BJP. We have Mr. Sarvanan, who is the spokesperson for the DMK, Professor Manojit Mondal, member of the TMC, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author and scientist, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress. I'll start with you, Professor Manojit Mondal, because the logic being given is that the center had made a program where it said we are going to go one by one, frontline workers, health workers, those who are above 60, then those who are above 45 and who have comorbidities, and eventually we will get to the 18 to 45 as well. In the meantime, the states are welcome to chip in, the corporates are welcome to chip in and also help vaccinate more people. then why raise doubts about the intention? Professor Mondal.
Not really in the meantime. I mean, the states, especially the state of West Bengal, wanted to be part of this process all by itself in the month of February. And we have talked about that later, saying to the Prime Minister on the 24th of February that, allow us to buy the vaccine and sort of vaccinate our people completely freely. That was not allowed at that point in time because, we understand that Mr. Prime Minister wanted to take the entire credit of vaccination. Now there is problem because now it's completely out of his hands, and that's why shifting the entire burden to the state. I mean, how can this happen? For the last 1 year, the Disaster
But how is the entire burden on the states? Just to be clear, sir, if I may interrupt you for just a second to ask a follow-up. Because here, when you have 50% being bought by the center and 50% being bought by the states or corporates, by that very definition of 50-50, the entire burden is not on the states because 50% is being bought and paid for by the center and being given free of cost to the states.
No. I think you are completely consciously innocent about the fact that the states need to buy that vaccine at 400 rupees. Instead of 150, that's the center is buying it at 150. We were supposed to buy at 400 rupees. Now they are saying that it will be made free because of the letters,
from
because
who?
of the movement.
Are you buying it from the center?
Yes.
Now, sir,
yes.
you are confusing. Yes. You are confused. Either you are innocent or you think the audience is innocent, and you are trying to confuse them. My question to you was, you said the entire burden has been transferred to the states. My counter to that is the entire burden cannot be on the states because half of it is being taken by the center.
We had a program on this, that why the state will buy the vaccine at 400 rupees when the center is buying at 150. This happened 7 days back. When this was announced that from the 1st of May, there will be some kind of universal vaccination. So look at the pricing at that point in time. The states were supposed to buy at 400 rupees from the center only. What are you talking about? We made it a point that we will not do this. And now, because of the problems, because you are in a gadda, I must say, now you are saying that will be provided to the state is completely free, of course. It's only now, because of the movement, because of the letters that we saw.
Okay, that is a valid point. So, Nupur Sharma answered this. Even you realize that the pricing is unrealistic, which is why the center is nudging these vaccine manufacturers, telling them, make it more realistic, reduce it a little. How is it fair that the center negotiated a deal at 150, but the states are paying either 400 or 600 depending on which vaccine they go for?
Well, Padmaja, good evening. Well, of course, you would appreciate that after the states kept nudging the center during lockdown last year when DMA and Epidemic Act was in place to decentralize, to give them more control. After all, health is a state subject. Of course, the economy of all independent states was being affected. 4 rounds of VCs happened between the Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji and between the chief ministers. You also would appreciate the fact that after the decentralized decisions have been taking place, and there is obviously an attempt to make things work as far as cooperative federalism is concerned. You would also appreciate that after that, when the vaccination drive started, when we gave emergency use authorization, how these very opposition parties came out. Somebody said it's BJP ki vaccine. Somebody said it will make you impotent. Somebody said without medicinal degree, but to call themselves very senior leaders of the Congress party, how it was premature authorization as far as co-vaccine was concerned. Allow me to finish. You would also appreciate the fact that how these two manufacturers...
No, but my question is not that. My question is different. How do you explain one price for the center, one price for the states?
I'm answering. The fact simply is you would also, because you've asked the question right before I was getting to the facts. You would also appreciate that in spite of the fact that health is a state subject, the center is the one who has given the necessary impetus and encouragement allow me to finish, sir. Don't heckle. Of 3,000 crores to SII and 1,500 crores to Bharat Biotech.
Give a chance to rebut.
Please, Padmaja, I need my unbridled time.
Okay, yes, Professor Mondal, you will rebut, but let her finish the point, yes.
You would also appreciate how the central government also gave the necessary injection and impetus encouragement to increase the capacity of manufacturing to both SII and Bharat Biotech to the tune of 4,500 crores. You'd also appreciate how the central government is also helping Bharat Biotech not only in increasing capacity in Bangalore but also ensuring that 3 PSUs also come forth. You'd also appreciate how the central government has already ordered in bulk at 50% of the monthly capacity of manufactured capacity of both the companies. You'd also appreciate that if you have read what the Union Health Minister has written, you have the option to negotiate the price as and when you want, given that if you order for bulk, given economies of scale, you can also negotiate the price. If not, why don't you also give
Professor Mondal, negotiate a better price?
These companies.
No, first of all, health is a state subject.
Or actually, maybe form a consortium of states and negotiate a price.
Now she has realized, the center has realized that health is a state subject, comes under the directive principle of the state policy. What did you do when you send the teams without notice? The central interministerial, demonic name, I can't even remember right now, interministerial teams without informing us. Did you realize that the health was a state subject? Now come back to the vaccination issue. Why did you realize
there was DMA in place? You did not allow the central...
No. Now let Professor Mondal have his uninterrupted time. Because it's such a sensitive subject and I genuinely want everyone to get vaccinated. Let's have reasonable debate on this, please.
What do you mean?
No, Nupur, just a second, please. Professor Mondal, please, no rhetoric, only reasonable points, and please, so that you don't get interrupted. Because then you will make rhetorical points, you will be interrupted. Go on, Professor Mondal. Professor Mondal, my straight question to you is, either the government of West Bengal or all a consortium of state governments get together and then go to Aadhar Poonawalla and say, listen, all of us together will buy so many million doses, give us a good deal.
We are not given the liberty, despite the fact that health is a state subject.
That's not true.
Now, when did you realize, madam, that
that's not true?
You have been given the liberty.
Right now, only now.
syllabus से बाहर आया है इनके लिए. Now की बात नहीं है. पढ़ के आया करो. Health Minister now से क्या होता है? Health Minister ने क्या कहा था? आपने ना accelerated policy पढ़ी है. Health Minister की चिट्ठी पढ़ी है. पढ़ के आया करो. Professor, नाम के प्रोफेसर हो, काम के प्रोफेसर कब बनोगे? No, you should read up and
what did you do in the month of October, November, December, January?
Okay. See, Professor Mondal, now you are asked a very specific question on policy. You don't have an answer to that.
Now you are
you don't have an answer to that, which is very unfortunate. The thing is that at present, not only can you negotiate independently with the manufacturers, two, you can also rope in the corporates, and under CSR, they can ensure that this population of 18 to 45 can get vaccinated at a cheaper price. But Dr. Anand Ranganathan, is this profiteering by private companies at the time of a pandemic? Because that is going to be a larger question. Should these companies be pushed to give us cheaper and cheaper vaccines? Because another view is, and I was reading it in the Financial Express, that by doing so, you will disincentivize these companies from making more vaccines for you faster.
Yes, Padmaja, there are about 3 or 4 issues, and please give me a couple of minutes because I've been listening very patiently to all my esteemed panelists, co-panelists. Now, it is, at the outset, I must say, it is befuddling, this differential pricing. At the heart of it, I suppose, is economics. And simple common sense tells you that if you buy something in bulk, it will be cheaper for you. That said, it'll be so much cheaper comes as a shock to me. I mean, this is 4 times cheaper. So let me say 2 things. What if now we know that the center is buying 50% of the stock? The other rest 50% is to be bought by the state. What would BJP have said if these companies had reversed it? For the 50% that the states were getting, the company had said that the center was getting, the company had said, let the center buy it at 600 rupees. And let the states who are getting the other 50% buy it at 150. I would like to ask what the BJP spokesperson would have reacted then. Number 2, in fact, I was going to propose this, but you proposed it first, so kudos to you. This makes complete sense that if you buy things in bulk, it'll be cheaper. So let the consortium of states get together, 29 of them and 7 union territories, and negotiate a price that is as good as what the center is getting. So it is a level playing field. And number 3, finally, I somehow, Padmaja, I detest what the Congress spokesperson in that clip that you showed said. almost making it like a Nehruvian thing, profit is a dirty word. The tremendous amount of research and development has gone into making these vaccines. So the companies are at liberty to set a price. Of course, we are discussing why the price, there is a differential pricing. But finally, I'd like to say, as far as the pricing of the companies is concerned, let me remind you that the Covaxin, which is other than the other vaccine that is being used apart from Covishield, Covaxin is an initiative of Bharat Biotech as well as the Indian government. That it is our taxpayers' money has gone into the research and development of Covaxin. So it is befuddling why citizens who paid money to make Covaxin, if the citizens are in states, they are, they are subjected to a price which is 4 times more than what the center is paying. So these are the 3 issues I would like to put on the table.
Okay, Nupur Sharma, the question is to you.
First and foremost,
Just a second, Mr. Chaudhary, before you come in, 2 of those questions to you.
2 of the questions to me. One is, Professor Ganganathan, the fact is that obviously, since you asked that what would happen if the center was quoted the higher price, the fact is that the center is the one who is doing all the work. Please name one state with any kind of effort, any kind of impetus, any kind of investment into ensuring that research goes in and the vaccinations come out. If Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech both wanted, I'm sorry, I'm going to answer this. Since all these people are the ones who are saying, "Arey, hamare ko decision lene do, hamare ko bhi kuch karne do," these opposition people are the first ones who have doubted the veracity and the efficacy of all these vaccinations, including the bright minds behind the vaccinations. You cannot deny that. And question number 2, what did you ask? What did you ask? What is the second question he asked, Padmaja? He asked one more question for me. Can you repeat your question?
The second question, Dr. Ranganathan, repeat your question. Yes.
That the states should form a consortium and then negotiate the price.
To the center, your second question.
That is for the states. The third one, I'll answer. The third question I'll answer. Well, simply put, the 50% that the government of India is going to procure, we are not going to set up a museum. If you read the policy clearly, it says that the current policy of vaccination healthcare workers, frontline workers and above 45 will continue, and thereafter, if you've read the health minister's note as well, thereafter this very policy will continue and ease out for younger age brackets. Simply put, the government of India is not vaccinating at a cost in any of the hospitals. So any state government which has come forth before this policy came into being to say, oh, we are vaccinating for free. Well, you were being given these vaccinations for free because the government of India was buying them and disbursing them further. Simply, that's the reason why state government dispensaries and hospitals...
Because, on that specific point, I think it bears mention... Just a second, Dr. Ranganathan, I want to read to you what Dr. Harshvardhan said yesterday in his reply. The vaccination process through GOI route will continue as before, and entire expense of this will continue to be borne by the center. As the eligibility criteria to get vaccinated through this route evolves further, GOI will continue to provide full support to states to vaccinate all eligible people free of cost, which essentially means that eventually, right now, they are going in a phase-wise fashion. They went from healthcare workers to frontline workers to those above 60 to those above 45, and eventually they will also come to 18 to 45 being given free of cost at government hospitals, but that will be as the policy evolves. Is that correct, Nupur Sharma? Will eventually 18 to 45-year-old people in India also avail of free vaccine?
Of course, if the government is buying 50% of the vaccination and given 5-6 months later, all above 45 are vaccinated, we are not going to set up a show of it. There's not going to be a museum like show or, vaccine lelo dukandari. Please appreciate the efforts of the central government. My simple question, where is the burden of the states? Those who were doubting the efficacy, those who were doubting the intelligence of the...
Dr. Ranganathan, quick rebuttal, but then I really must bring in the DMK and the Congress. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
Yes, to my good friend Nupur, the question of people who were doubting vaccine and all that stuff doesn't come into it at all. I mean, I'm with you on that. But that doesn't matter. We are talking of simple economics here. And economic sense tells you that a differential pricing of 4-fold is befuddling for the simple reason that I just switched it. Would the center be happy? And it is not just a question of center supplying the medicines free. Okay, let it be this way. Let the states buy it at 10 times the cost. And let the center say, okay, we'll bear it. Anyway, you have free loan waivers. You have the current liability of the states is 50 lakh crores. So the states can very well say, okay, we don't care, you make it at 1,600 rupees, we are going to give it free, and we'll be in debt. What will the center do then? It is a question of economics. It is not a question of, politics, or it's not a question of science at all. Would the center be happy if it was procuring 50% of the amount at 600 rupees instead of 150?
If at a reasonable price, if eventually the manufacturers give a reasonable price,
Professor, your question.
Do you agree that states should procure and vaccinate? Especially, just a second, Nupur, I really want to bring in the others because everyone has their own individual concerns. Mr. Stalin said that there is so much money that the center has with the PM CARES funds. The center should vaccinate everyone free of cost. The health ministry says, yes, we will, but eventually, till then, the stopgap arrangement is being done so that the states can chip in. Mr. Saravanan, do you think that's reasonable?
Yeah. Yes, our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, has called to the inhuman act, putting 5 different prices for 2 vaccines. And where does the state get money? As the central government given us the GST dues, we have to beg them for the GST dues. And now the BJP government has the audacity to tell the state, go buy your vaccines. What was the promise by the BJP in Bihar? And what is the promise by the BJP in West Bengal? Why can't they promise it? See, the other gentleman is saying all the 29 states should form a consortium. Why the central government cannot do it? You were holding the reins so far. You did not even allow us to buy a test kit. Now the situation is out of your control. You want to wash up the hands to the state government. Please don't preach about cooperative federalism. BJP has no moral right to talk about cooperative federalism. Mr. Manmohan Singh has clearly stated, make it compulsory licensing. The other gentleman has clearly stated the vaccine.
Why can't the center give it to everyone? But do you know that Mr. Saravanan, the party that you are coordinating with, you are in alliance with in Tamil Nadu, and if you come in government, you will be in government with them. The Congress, former President Rahul Gandhi wrote a letter on the 8th of April where he concluded by saying that state governments should have a greater say in vaccine procurement and distribution. This centralization of vaccine procurement with only one person's picture is going to be counterproductive. So he asked for a decentralization where the states would have, quote unquote, a greater say in procurement. So the center has now said, okay, take it. Have a greater say in procurement.
Yes, have a greater say. But who has, with regard to the Covaxin, the other gentleman was right. It was the Indian government which gave its input. The Indian Virology Institute at Pune was collaborating with BBIL for production of the vaccine. Why can't they have a say in the price of the vaccine? That is the question. Why they leave it to the market? Why only 2 players? Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh.
Why leave it to the market?
Why no compulsory licensing until now?
An Indian vaccine, then Indian people should decide how much it is priced. Nupur Sharma.
Export
He did not understand. He probably did not understand, Padmaja. Please allow me.
You made your point, sir. Now let her answer.
First, I want to answer directly Professor Ranganathan's question. You know, this price differential, Professor Ranganathan, would make sense if you completely discount it and there was no history of an injected investment to increase capacity at the central government level. Now, since these people wanted, हमारे को अपना चाहिए, तो ठीक है, अपना भी करो. Fact of the matter is, we are both trying to enhance capacity and we are also leaving the market open for them. वो 50% अपने घर में नहीं रखना हमारे को 6 DDU मार्क पे. The same will be distributed as it has been happening. And I think the 4-page letter of the Union Health Minister is completely, fully explanatory as to what the policy is all about, and so is the policy in itself. As far as you, how many times do I repeat myself that a part of that 50% is going to come to your state as it has been vaccinating people already? I don't understand.
Give it to the BJP.
Please answer.
What about the non-BJP states? Will you give it to them?
So what is your, please tell me, what is your contribution in managing this crisis?
That is the problem.
It is very easy. Don't give it. So what will you do?
That is
what will you do? Nobody is doing politics. You are. You are doing politics. First you doubt the vaccination, then you doubt the policy, and I'm sorry to say, what is your contribution? You are the one who said, allow us to vaccinate, kam de rahe ho, zyada de rahe ho, aise de rahe ho, waise de rahe ho. And if you think you're so weak that you cannot order in bulk, and you ask, what happened to Bihar, what happened to Bengal? Fact is, Bihar state announce free vaccination for all.
Nupur Sharma. I think the very specific question. Let's leave out Serum Institute for a bit, because there you have the AstraZeneca component. Just a second. Just to give more. Okay, 10 seconds. Yes, Anand.
No, Nupur, look, I understand your thing. Center has invested in Covaxin. Center is giving 2,500 to 3,000 crores or something to both these players. But I ask you again, what was the point of opening up the vaccine thing for the state so that they could procure it absolutely immediately? Now, if you have increased the price by fourfold, they are going to be hesitant until they go in debt. So it's a simple question.
I'm sorry.
Please, I didn't interrupt you. This is
Professor Ranganathan, you are countering your own point.
No, one second. Let me finish.
Your own point. You only talk about economies of scale.
You can say it later on, but let me finish my point. Please, let me finish my point. I'll let you finish your point, right? Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm saying कि जो आपने ये जो कोवैक्सीन बनाई है, आप जो ये पैसा दे रही हैं दो कंपनीज को, ये पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है? ये पैसा किसका है? सेंटर का है क्या? ये माई बाप सरकार ये नहीं चलेगी. You have to go bring everyone together. This is not a question of center gets 1/4 the price and states get 4-fold. No. This is all our money. The states are giving you money.
I think
I've never seen this before.
Just a second, Nupur Sharma. You know, Nupur Sharma, is it a case? Is it a case of, and I'll bring in Kamar Saman Chaudhary on it.
No, you allow
basically,
me. He's again choosing. I'm not saying we did it.
I hope you would have understood it the first time, Nupur.
Of course I did. Of course you did not.
I doubt that very much.
No, 1 second. There is a cooperative.
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, let her answer.
Please allow me to answer. When did I say मैंने दिया है? Of course it's a taxpayer's money. But these are the very people, the letters written by Rahul Gandhi. What about us? हमारी को अपनी मर्जी चाहिए. Well, vaccinations can't be priced with the same price as 40 years ago, Professor. You don't need me to tell you that. Times have changed. Research has become more expensive. Don't do that. Don't explain like that.
Now that has been mentioned, please, I think Mr. Chaudhary has been listening on very patiently. He deserves to get his word in. The thing is, Mr. Chaudhary, that since the beginning of this year, our vaccine program was going along swimmingly, but then you had a series of attacks where you had letters written. The last one, just a second. The last one, Nupur Sharma, just a second. The last one on the 8th of April, where Mr. Gandhi said very specifically that at our current vaccination rate, it would take years to inoculate 75% of our population. This will have catastrophic effects and will gravely decelerate India's economy. There is no reason why there should be a centralization and individualized propaganda which are counterproductive. Public health is a state subject. Our states have been bypassed right from vaccine procurement to registration, with the result that basically the center said, listen, you think that we have bypassed the states? Here, do it. Now it's your problem.
Why Rahul Gandhi has said this so long is simply because we have got a megalomaniac at the helm of the thing. I'll say this why. Because vaccine, that is absolutely at this point is a life-saving an instrument. We had faced the same crisis during smallpox and during polio times also. But Congress government silently went about vaccinating its people without even charging a single rupee from its citizens. So we got rid of smallpox in 1977. We were officially declared a polio-free country in 2014. Now, when we are discussing about the different pricing of the vaccine, we must remember when Modi government provides 5 kg rice to 80 crore population of the country, do you think these poor people will be ever able to pay for the vaccine? Now, the Modi government is directly responsible to provide free vaccine to each and every citizen of the country. Whether it is Covaxin, whether it is Covishield, whether it is Johnson & Johnson, whether it is the Sputnik, the responsibility lies at the Prime Minister's door. You should not shift responsibility right now. The funding should be coming from the center.
They asked for decentralization, Nupur Sharma, but they did not ask for escalation of price. I think that is the sticking point. Why should we pay more? All the states are saying.
You know, we are running around in circles trying to actually just capture our own and catch our own tail. First, somebody gave the answer of, oh yeah, of course, if you order in bulk, it will become cheaper. Now you're turning around and saying the same thing. Why is it more expensive? The fact is, 50% of the vaccination being bought by center under the ongoing policy, which hospital of the central government or the disbursal to the state government under the ongoing policy of vaccination is charging money? Please tell me that. There's 50% of the vaccination manufactured vaccines that we will be procuring and disbursing to states. I reiterate and repeat myself for the nth time on this debate, will be free of cost. If the state governments choose to price you, I'm sorry, that's their problem. Currently, all vaccinations have been happening free of cost, apart from the private hospitals who are charging of 250 rupees odd. As far as the current price is concerned, I did not know, Professor Anand Ranganathan, a country of our size and state with our kind of population is not going to buy in bulk, is going to buy 10 or 20 or 15 or 1,000 vaccinations. Fact of the matter is, we need to come together. You wanted the choice to access more vaccines. You have been given that choice. Come together, negotiate. Even that choice is yours. I do not understand why this tutu meme is happening. Fact is, you want to also
Padmaja, 10 seconds.
Share the burden. You should also share the burden if you want choice.
I'm unfortunately completely out of time. We also have doctors waiting, other than the politics over vaccination. I think there are very bread and butter and daily issues about our health and masking that also need to be addressed. So I have to go across to them. But this is something that we will address in the days to come as well. Be that as it may, beginning the 1st of May, whoever is eligible must enroll and must get vaccinated. We're hoping that this politics does not stall that vaccination drive phase 3. For the time being, thank you very much all gentlemen. Nupur Sharma, Fahad, enjoy.